So, good afternoon, everyone. We are so excited to bring a big moment back to Savannah. This is huge. After such a dark time, we're ready for the Circle of Friends jazz event that's coming up next Friday, May 14th, at the Ships of the Sea Maritime Museum. And we have three special guests with us today. Ben and I have been talking about this. We're excited to see your beautiful faces. Paula Fogarty, the interim director of Savannah Jazz, also Howard Paul, CEO and president of Benedetto Guitars, and also a household name pretty much here in Savannah when it comes to the jazz world. And we also have an amazing vocalist with us, Dolette McDonald. Dolette, if many of you are familiar, has a widespread career. She has been all around, I'll say across the map, and she's performed with some great people. For instance, Sting and many others. And we're just looking forward to this event. Paulo, if you will, get us started. Tell us what we can expect next week with the Circle of Friends.
Well, Savannah Jazz, thank you for having us, WSAV, once again, as a great media partner. And we are going first out of the gate now that we are being a little bit freer with our public gatherings and our private parties. And so this is our Circle of Friends annual gig. And it supports all of Savannah Jazz's programs, from our monthly concerts to our iconic annual Savannah Jazz Festival and education programs, and the forthcoming Savannah Jazz History exhibit. It will be at Ships of the Sea on May the 14th from 6:30 p.m. And we are featuring the Savannah Jazz All-Stars with Dolette McDonald singing in front of them. And there will be lots of dancing, tons of auction items, and lots of information. It's not a formal party, it's a festive gig.
Wow, this is so exciting. Howard, of course, music brings us together. Tell us, what does this mean to you, considering your roots here and your jazz background?
Well, it's critical, of course, to be able to raise money for this kind of important event. This will help to sponsor our annual jazz festival. We've all been handicapped for the last year and a half, not only in terms of playing at live venues, but also in terms of fundraising for these kind of really important nonprofit organizations like Savannah Jazz. Uh, we've been really blessed here in Savannah to, for the most part, be pretty busy playing, with the exception of probably you know April through June, July last year. Most of the professional musicians in town have been back to work and pretty busy. But this coming event is really the signs that we're getting back to normal. Things are opening up, and I think we'll see more and more live music in the city, and I think that's good for everyone.
Well, it certainly is good for everyone. And Adolette, share with us, if you will, what we can expect from you, from your sultry voice.
Well, a lot of standards, a lot of songs that make you happy.
Yes.
Because we'd like for people to dance and we'd like for people to have a great time. So I am going to, along with the most fabulous band that I think I've ever performed with, so grateful for that. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have songs like Route 66 and Fever and some really, really great music for you.
All right. Now, Paula, I want to go back to you now. If you could just talk a little bit about the differences that we have seen. Obviously, the festival did happen last year. So why don't you talk a little bit about how you pulled it off and how it will be different this year? Because it's not going to necessarily be back to normal, but it will be different.
Yeah, thank you for asking, Ben. The main answer to your question is we pulled it off because of WSAV and our production partner. None of us were familiar with how to deliver such a grand event worldwide virtually, but we called upon the two primary elements of jazz music: collaboration and absolute what's the word, Howard?
Improvisation.
Collaboration and improvisation. So we improvised a lot and we collaborated really well together with WSAV to live stream around the world over 16 live performances and many, many interviews in between, and managed to reach 175,000 people worldwide on every continent except Antarctica. And so this year, we're not sure what we're going to be able to do. We are ready to be back and live in front of over 10,000 people a night in Forsyth Park. But in the event that we're not allowed to do that, then our alternate plan is to hold our performances at Savannah Station, where we can flex between 100, which the city is allowing now, to 500 people at Savannah Station. So stay tuned and visit our website and follow us on our Facebook pages for all of the updates we'll be making along the way.
Well, I guess the important thing for folks who may be thinking about attending, Friday for the first event, the fundraiser event, that maybe if people are still not comfortable being in a group setting, that's probably the one to kind of dip your toe in the water because it is outdoors.
Yes, it's outdoors and it's covered. So in the event that it might rain, it's got a roof, but we have open air, great ventilation, wonderful fans around, optional. So if people feel comfortable coming out to join us, it's a really great cause because we are the only free festival in our region that reaches as many people as we do. And that's because our mission is to keep great music accessible for everybody, not just people who can afford big tickets to major concerts. So it's a good and worthy cause. And as you started out saying, music brings people together, and that's our mission.
All right, thank you. Howard, I want to talk a little bit about something you mentioned in terms of how musicians have struggled during this pandemic. I know everybody's back to work now, but what do you think the long-term effects will be? Certainly not everyone's recovered from the income that they were used to making.
Well, in reality, not everybody is back to work. Touring musicians are just now starting to travel for the first time. I spoke to 3 musicians in the last 2 days that have just purchased their first plane tickets in a year and a half. And these are guys that spend their entire lives on the road. So we're not there yet. There were grants available. There were efforts to live stream performances. There was a lot of COVID recording going on over the last year and a half, and maybe some really remarkable music that's going to come out of that. But we're not back to full performance yet. And frankly, Savannah is probably 2 to 3 months ahead of the rest of the country. While New York is opening up venues this week, Broadway won't be back 100% until I think they just announced today the end of September or something like that. And that could change. So I think from a musician perspective, we're all anxious to get back to work. We all want to travel again. Everybody's starting to look at booking cruise ship gigs and festivals in Italy and those sorts of outdoor events. But nobody's getting on a plane just yet and going on tour. And I think that includes places like Savannah. We're taking baby steps to get things open because just like the Savannah Jazz Festival, we can plan on the biggest, greatest festival ever in September, but it's really going to be dictated by science and what's best for the community. And we have to play it by ear, and so do all the musicians who are out there trying to get back to work.
Yeah, at least we have hope now. We appreciate that. Jolette, what can you tell the viewers today just about, what makes these gatherings in Savannah so unique? Because you have seen all of these different, festivals and venues around the world. So what do you like about, this place, and what do you think maybe an audience member who hasn't experienced how we do it here would think of what we have to offer?
Well, I don't know if you know, I'm a newcomer to Savannah. And so I'm slowly getting to know Savannah, and I have to say that there are many things about Savannah that are fabulous. The reason why I'm here is because the music scene is remarkable. There's music everywhere. And the city that I moved from didn't have as much of a music scene as Savannah. I mean, you can go to dinner and there's music there in the restaurant. Well, there was, and there will be again, I'm sure. You go out in the park and you have people playing in the park who aren't getting paid to play. They're just hanging out and playing and enjoying themselves. And I performed at the Jazz Festival for this 3 years straight. And just seeing the people in Forsyth Park was almost like a religious experience. Just to see the diversity that Savannah has, that was huge. Just so many people, so many different types of people, children, adults, all different colors together having a great time. That's what Savannah is to me. And Savannah is most of all welcoming. It made me feel like I was home when I came.
I love that. Absolutely love it. Savannah has a way of gripping you, and you don't want to leave.
Yeah.
Dolette, I'm just curious, throughout this pandemic as an entertainer, what was revealed to you? All of us sat on our couches and we tried to come up with things to do, but I'm just curious about what was revealed in terms of entertainment and all that you have done through your journey.
I moved to Savannah to create Act Three in my life. And the pandemic for me allowed me the opportunity to step back and look and see what I wanted to do, how I wanted to be creative, and if I could continue to be creative, in this act of my life. It made me look inward uh, to to understand what it is left for me to learn. And so for me as an artist, I realized I still have a lot to learn. And that's what the pandemic has given to me.
Paula, as we prepare for next Friday, I know you're very busy with this event. What's going on in terms of your thoughts and the togetherness, the unity that we are so used to in Savannah? I just feel like this is going to be a sellout. I hope so, anyway.
I hope it's going to be a sellout, Tina. And we've heard the word diversity, we've heard the word unity a lot in this interview so far, and that's really what it's all about. I mean, we have the greatest mix, I think, of all of the musical organizations here in Savannah of people. And that's why we call this our Circle of Friends gig, because it really is about friendship. And our circle of friends has grown so tremendously over the past 5 years, and it continues to grow because people really see the value in supporting us, and because they get something out of it. It makes you feel good. It makes you happy. We are, a happy, good time organization that is, on the one hand, very sophisticated. On the other hand, it's very kind of come one, come all, very, very welcoming. So I think that's a big differentiator. And, a lot of, we've garnered the support of a lot of new sponsors and new foundations who really see the value in reaching across so many broad audiences and embracing the diversity of the people who are embracing us. So I think that's one of the big attractions for this event and for really everything that we do. So Friday night will definitely be at capacity, and just a great time. We're gonna see children there. We'll see children. We'll see people of all ages, and like Dolette said, of every imaginable color and ethnicity, and very diverse backgrounds. And that's what makes it work. And I think that is kind of goes to the heart of what jazz has always been about.
Wonderful. Well, what better way to spend a Friday night than with the Savannah Jazz Band and all of the wonderful people here in the hostess city. Ben, do you have any other questions?
I just think we should give Howard a chance to do a little bragging on Benedetto Guitars, because that is, I mean, that's unique any way you slice it, to have something like that right here in our city.
Well, I never turned down the opportunity to talk about Benedetto. This is my office, so you can see prototypes of a number of the models we make hanging behind us. This has been a really busy time for us. COVID was really strange in our industry. Retail music stores were completely shut down. Factories couldn't get pieces and parts that they needed. Musicians everywhere were unemployed. Benedetto is a really small, really boutique and internationally known company. And so while our artists and professional musicians were sidelined for the last year and a half, people who are really devoted hobbyists and collectors of instruments like these had a pretty fabulous year. If they stayed healthy, they stayed home. They didn't spend money on vacations and vacation homes and corporate events and dinners. Instead, they were home maybe a lot more than they had planned to, and they started digging back into their music. And they had a lot of success in Wall Street, and didn't spend a lot of money that they decided they could go ahead and spend on guitars. So while we can't scale up to anything, we're not a scalable company, we've been really fortunate that sales have stayed pretty steady. Our employees have stayed healthy, and we're beginning to come out of this thing on the right foot. And we hope everybody in the music industry is experiencing that. But for a little company like ours, it's been important to kind of have a pretty good year, and particularly this first quarter, which is probably true of most businesses in this country, has really begun to take off as people start getting outside and spending money and buying musical instruments. It's been pretty good run, and we're happy we're where we at. We're where we at.
Well, thank you so much, Howard Paul, Dolette McDonald, and of course, Paula Fogarty. We're looking so forward to seeing you next Friday night at Ships of the Sea Maritime Museum here in Savannah for the Circle of Friends live gig. I know it's going to be fantastic. We can't wait.